Well, welcome everybody. We're delighted that you're here. I am Chris Solomon, and I am the president of the Board of Alumni, and Edgar Garcia is here, which is always a good thing. On behalf of the board, you know, the board, with tremendous support from the Alumni and Parents Programs Office, is responsible for this event and for the Alumni Honors process. And it's truly a pleasure to be the person who gets to represent the board and MC and host this event. But before I get started, I want to do one thing and have us express thanks to the incredible musicians who serenaded us while we were here. There is another reason to celebrate them, because Catherine and Noam are both graduates of just last month. So, well done. So, and they are going to take their leave because being recent graduates, they have many, many things that they need to do. So, thank you again. I want to, before we get started, I just want to say, and I always say this and think this is my favorite event of all of the events that I have the privilege of coming to at Lewis and Clark. It's because we get to see and honor and meet people who are just so special and who are part of us. And frankly, it feels good because it kind of I feel it rubs off a little bit too. Yeah, and it's very, very nice. But it's just, there's so many amazing people, and we get to meet them. A quick program note. Unfortunately, Chris Bailey, our outstanding young alum, won't be with us today. So you can read about the amazing things that Chris has been doing and is doing in the program and online, but we won't be hearing from him today. Also, the wrath of COVID, Kathy Kirkland, 2 days ago, came down with COVID, so who is our Alumni Pioneer Leadership Award winner, and but she will be here in the form of Hillary Dixon, who will be reading her remarks and accepting her award. So we certainly thank Hillary for doing that, and we're so sorry that Kathy can't be here. Before we get started, I'd like to have us just pull back for a second and pause and acknowledge the lands on which we occupy and the indigenous peoples who occupied these lands before us, and begin with the statement of honor and acknowledgement. Lewis and Clark College purposefully reflects on the history of the land it occupies. Prior to the newcomers arriving in this area, the indigenous land of what would later be called Multnomah County was home to many tribal people. We honor the indigenous people on whose traditional and ancestral homelands we stand: the Multnomah, Kathlamet, Clackamas, Tumwater, Watala, bands of the Chinook, and the Tualatin Kalapuya, and many other indigenous nations of the Columbia River. It is important to acknowledge the ancestors of this place and to recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their descendants. So, in just a few days, we are going to have, formally, a new president. And I have the privilege and honor of introducing you to her. Though, in many ways, we know her. So many of you do, because she's been our vice president of student life and dean of students for the past 3 years. But Robin Holmes Sullivan has done so much for us in those 3 years, and there's so much to go. And in particular, she came advocating for and achieving a greater overall student experience, in particular, a sense of belonging and being a part as a student. She has guided us as a member of the school's leadership with a steady hand through the incredible challenges brought to our institution of COVID, wildfires, and other things. And so we've had a good chance to see and benefit from what she's done. Prior to coming to Lewis and Clark, Robin spent nearly 2 decades at the University of Oregon and another 3 years at the University of California system-wide. At the University of Oregon, she started as a clinical coordinator in the counseling office. She left as vice president of student affairs. She then served as vice president, student of life, I stand corrected. She then became vice president of student affairs for the University of California system-wide for some 270,000 students. And then in 2019, she came home. She came to Oregon, and she came to Lewis and Clark College. Robin's selection as Lewis and Clark's next president is an historic one. She will be the first woman, and she will be the first person of color to lead our institution. We are, and we should be, proud and excited by that. But I am actually more excited by the fact that we have a leader who is incredibly intelligent, capable, has the experience and all of the background that she brings to this moment. It is so right and it is so good for all of what we have in front of us. She came to us and she chose us, which I feel very fortunate for, but she also has embraced the challenges of the future that we face, and that is, to me, the critical part of her role and what makes me so excited, because to have a leader of her capability and to have her commitment to that future makes me confident that we will continue to succeed and to thrive. So with that, please join me in welcoming Dr. Robin Holmes Sullivan to the stadium, to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for those kind words, Chris. And thanks to all of the Board of Alumni members and what you do every single day. I mean, this whole weekend is obviously a testament of that, and we can never thank you enough, so I appreciate that. I'm going to be brief because we know what the main attraction is, but I did want to just greet all of you, as well as to talk a little bit or kind of illuminate exactly what Chris said, that I got into higher education because I love working with students, and what brought me back to Oregon and from the University of California and the great opportunities that I had there shaping policy and working with so many people across the state was that I missed being with the students. And this has been a fantastic experience for me, and I think a great preparation for the presidency here. So being able to actually be close to students and watch them to grow and become the people they were meant to be and achieve at levels that even they couldn't even imagine is just a great blessing. And I'm so thrilled that I've had such a long career and opportunities to do that. But today, I get to stand in front of a room of also high-achieving past students and to see all the wonderful things and hear about all the wonderful things that you have been doing in your careers as LC alums. So being here today definitely makes me even more excited about the new role, which is only a couple of days away, although for the last 6 months, really, since I'm already here on campus, I've had this huge advantage of having this nice ramp up to getting ready to taking over on July 1st. And so I think that all of us know that the measure of a quality school really is the kind of students that it attracts and it eventually graduates. And then what those students actually do with their lives. So by that measure, obviously, I am no fool in wanting to join in the ranks of Lewis and Clark. It's really a truly remarkable institution, and I'm so proud to be your next president. So welcome back to your alma mater. We, of course, ordered the weather up for you. I know you were worried. You were probably watching as the days were going by and you're thinking, what's going on? Believe me, we were thinking the same thing, but we made sure for Alumni Weekend that it looks exactly like this. And I was saying to someone, even though it's my third year, 2 of my years have been the COVID years, so the first year was a normal year, but I was new and trying to acclimate, and so this is actually my first Alumni Award ceremony because we didn't have them for several years, so lots of things are still kind of a first time for me. But I want you to know, and you've heard this a couple of times in the different opportunities that perhaps you've attended during Alumni Weekend, we are making incredible progress. I feel confident that you would be proud about what your alumna is doing and what we are focusing on, and that our future looks incredibly bright. And I'm not just saying that, it is absolutely true. And there's so much evidence around for you to see. You've noticed the train wreck that is the Templeton Student Center right now. So our plan was to look horrible, so that when it emerges, everyone's going to be, wow. But it really is going to be spectacular, and it will be a game changer. I've been on other campuses where we have, constructed a new student center, and it just makes that heart of campus so meaningful. And you all know that the student experience, especially in this day and age, is so incredibly important. And so our students are going to be able to gather and learn and connect and belong with each other in a space that is completely constructed and dedicated for them and to them. So I'm very excited about that. We're also going to start, I know the residence halls, I always hesitate to talk to alums about the residence halls because you have such memories about them, but we are going to improve upon them as well, starting with Stewart and Odell as soon as we're done with Templeton. And we'll get around to the others as well. And then other projects that I want you to know about is the enhancement of the Houston Sports Complex, since we're bringing on those 2 new sports. It's really going to be a great space for our students who play baseball, softball, intramurals, club sports, and then who will play women's lacrosse and men's soccer as well. And then if you go up to the grad campus, by next year, you're going to see this amazingly beautiful community space that they're going to be constructing that really will be open to everyone. So we hope that you'll find your way up there. So if you have a chance during the weekend, walk around campus, see the changes for yourself, and realize that these changes, as disruptive as they are right now, they are indications of positive progress. Schools that are closing their doors and really struggling, I can assure you, they're not, putting millions of dollars into constructing a better student experience. And so it's a really good sign of what we do. So I could tell you a lot more about our future, and in the weeks and months to come, myself and other team members will be talking about the future and the direction of the college. But today is not my day, it's actually your day. So we're here to celebrate you, and I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to do that. So I want to say a personal congratulations to all of the award winners. Thank you for everything that you do to improve the world around here. You embody what it means to be a Lewis and Clark student and alum, and we appreciate you, we're proud of you, and we can't wait to hear about what you've been up to. So thank you very much, and please enjoy the program.
Thank you, Robin, and the future is indeed bright. So thank you again for joining the Board of Alumni as we celebrate our award recipients. You'll hear more about the lives of Kathy, Jane, Chris, and Anna. And I hope that you, as you do, that you'll think about your own experience at Lewis and Clark College. And I encourage you to remember that there were those who came before us who gave generously to the school to make it possible for us to have a great experience. And I hope, and we all know that it is now our turn. So I would be remiss not to note that there are giving envelopes in the entry hallway and the like, which is for the old school among us. For those of you who live in more on a phone, I'm struggling with that a little, but there are QR codes which will take you right straight to lclark.edu, and you're able to give there. So, but please do. And I would say about giving, just this will leave you with one thought, and that is that I hope that you feel as good about giving to Lewis and Clark as my wife and I do when we give. So, before we meet our honorees, I'd actually like to turn things around on you, because we have a number of really special people who are here in the audience. I know that we have members of the Board of Trustees and current members of the Board of Alumni, and I hope that you will stand up and be recognized by all of us. So please. In addition, there are a number of former members of the Board of Alumni, And I'd like to particularly call out and ask that they stand if they're here, Chris Scheffler, Margie Brown, Jonathan Burton, Hillary Dixon, Dee Wolf, Hanako Imber, and Barb Whitaker. They all completed their service on the Board of Alumni during the pandemic, and we just haven't had a chance to say thank you. So please stand and allow us to say thank you. And there are many of you in the audience that give of your time. You may or may not have a title or part of something, but that's giving of time for career centers, for fundraising efforts, for events, for advisory boards, and so forth. There's just so many ways, and you just do it. So if you're one of those folks, would you please stand? Yeah, really, please stand and let us say thank you. So. And then finally, I know we have several past Alumni Award winners who are present and here today. Thank you for being here, and if you would stand so we can again acknowledge your amazing accomplishments. These beautiful glass awards that you see here on the stage were made by alumnus Morgan Madison. Morgan's not with us today, but we want to thank him for creating these beautiful pieces and doing it with another Lewis and Clark alumni artist who do this every year, and they give us these beautiful pieces. Each year they're unique and they're special for the awardees. So thank you, Morgan. And in spite of all the stuff in the world, it's been an amazingly busy year for the Board of Alumni and for the amazing team in the alumni and parent programs area. We've established alumni chapters throughout the country so we can bring the Lewis and Clark experience to the communities in which our alumni live. We have launched an amazing travel program, and I don't know if you guys are getting the notices, but wow, they're incredible. Cuba, Morocco, Antarctica, and the list goes on. And I hope that you will take a look and perhaps even participate. And then we're having our first in-person alumni weekend, close to 900 people. It's great. We're together. It's fun. So lots and lots and lots of stuff going on. And speaking of that, of which I would be remiss in not saying, if you would like to participate more in events and activities, be interested in the Board of Alumni, please just let us know. Just step up, and it would be worth making that step and making that gesture. It's a terrific way to engage. But first, today. It's truly an exciting time to be a pioneer. And each of the people who are honored today embodies the values and the spirit of Lewis and Clark. You may read about our honorees in your programs, and again, you can read about them online. We have their special guest who will introduce each of the honorees, and then I will present the award to them. We'll have three presentations, and then we'll hear a few words from each one of the honorees. So let me start. The Pioneer Alumni Leadership Award. Our first award honors an alumna for demonstrating extraordinary leadership in her service to Lewis and Clark College, to Lewis and Clark alumni. Kathy Kirkland, from the College of Arts and Sciences of 1975, the Graduate School Education class of 1983, and the Law School's class of 1987, is this year's recipient. You kind of see why, right? And so to introduce Kathy/Hillary Dixon, I'd like to welcome Carla Cabanago Salazar to the stage.
Hi, everyone. As Chris said, this next award is the Pioneer Alumni Leadership Award, and it is granted for extraordinary leadership in the service to the alumni of the college. And I really can't think of a recipient that truly encompasses these attributes more than Kathy Kirkland. Kathy, as Chris mentioned, is a triple alumna of Lewis and Clark with a BA in sociology from 1975, a Master of Arts in Teaching in 1983, and like her MAT wasn't challenging enough to obtain while raising two small children, she went for the icing on the cake with her Juris Doctor degree in 1987. She served as judicial clerk in Multnomah County Circuit Court, worked as corporate counsel with Liberty Northwest Insurance, and finished her career as an administrative law judge, retiring in 2012. And all that while raising two more children for a total of four, Libby, Bryn, Jack, and Grace. Kathy made her footprint on the legal sector by authoring the article Women in the Law that was published in the 1987 Employment Law Journal. And did you know that this article served as a preamble to what later came to be the Family Medical Leave Act of 1993? Yep, that's our Kathy. With that same passion, determination, and of course fairness, being a law judge and everything, Kathy has engaged with the college as a member of the Board of Alumni for both the College of Arts and Sciences and the law school. She is the former president of the Philanthropy Council and current vice president and president-elect of the law school's Board of Alumni. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor and privilege to present the 2022 Pioneer Alumna Leadership Award to my dear friend, Hillary Dixon, who will take it in honor of Kathy Kirkland.
Thought you were going to get rid of me. I have to say, I am heartbroken to have to be here because Kathy absolutely deserves to be here getting your affection and plaudits. But I'm also just so honored to be asked to be here on her behalf because she's somebody that I met through the Board of Alumni and really just came to admire and adore. So I know we're sending all our love to Kathy. But Kathy writes, "It is so wonderful to see your shining faces in the chapel today. First, to the Board of Alumni, thank you very much for this award. Next, I appreciate my husband and family so much and the way they shared this happy occasion with me. From way back, I am grateful to my parents, who are no longer with us, for sending me to Lewis and Clark College. It was the closest Presbyterian school on the West Coast. I was a student at Lewis and Clark off and on for 19 years. Throughout all of that time, and since retirement too, LC has been a lighthouse beacon and a lamppost leading along a better path. When I look back over my experience at LC, the primary thought that comes to mind is a simple thank you. There were so many professors who challenged me intellectually, enticed me to higher levels of mental discipline, and built my confidence in the process. Today, I will tell you about just one of those inspirational professors. Dr. John Kenyon taught sociology at Albany College. In 1947, when the college moved to this beautiful campus and changed its name, he moved his family to Portland. He and several other faculty members taught classes without pay for several months so that the college would survive the transition financially. Some years later, in my freshman class, Dr. Kenyon taught my Sociology 101 course and gave me my first college A. Dang, I immediately declared sociology as my major. Several years later, I had transferred around to several other colleges and wound up living in a kibbutz way far out in rural Israel. I wrote to Dr. Kenyon by snail mail and told him that I had no money and no support, but I wanted to return to my own school to take my degree. Bless his heart, Dr. Kenyon threw me a lifeline. He mailed me the financial aid forms and wrote, "I hope to see you on campus this fall." And I did come back. I traveled halfway around the world and was so glad to find a welcoming face. Dr. Kenyon inspired me to pursue my education to the next level. Now, I would like to address my fellow alumni in the audience. Hey, this is the Alumni Leadership Award, and they don't give me the microphone very often, so I'm going to seize the moment. I owe a debt of gratitude to Lewis and Clark College for molding me as a person. and I imagine that you feel the same way. Perhaps the amount of my debt is the salary that Dr. Kenyon and his family sacrificed so that the college would still be here for you and me and the succeeding generations of students. Feel free to use your own formula to measure your personal debt of gratitude and see it through. In conclusion, it is appropriate that we are celebrating in the chapel today. Upon reflection, this is my memory. Education is my religion, and Lewis and Clark is my church. Thank you very much for coming.
Kathy, you did a heck of a job. That's, the second award, named in honor of the late Don Balmer, Professor Emeritus of Political Science, recognizes Don's selfless support of the college. Sadly, Don has passed away, but his legacy lives on always. Don started teaching at Lewis and Clark in 1951 and retired a half-century later. Don and Betty's devotion to this school, its students, its mission, their friends and family, and to each other was simply unparalleled. I had the benefit of taking Poli-Sci 101 from Don Balmer, and I can still cite things from that class which have guided me throughout my career and my life. An amazing man. Professor Emerita Jane Atkinson is receiving this year's Don Balmer Alumni Citation for outstanding voluntary service to the college. To introduce Jane, I'd like to welcome Professor Emerita Jean Ward to the podium.
Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to be here. In 1978, I was delighted to greet an engaging, brilliant young woman named Jane Monig Atkinson, who arrived at Lewis and Clark as an assistant professor of anthropology and a welcomed addition to what was but a handful of women faculty in the College of Arts and Sciences. Through the years, our friendship has flourished, and it is a special honor to introduce Jane as a recipient of the 2022 Donald G. Balmer Citation for Outstanding Volunteer Service to the college. Born in St. Louis, Missouri, Jane was always curious about other cultures, and her 7th grade teacher in Minneapolis inspired her to consider attending Bryn Mawr, where Jane eventually enrolled and majored in cultural anthropology. During her junior year at Bryn Mawr, Jane and Everett Atkinson were married. After her graduation, they moved west, where Jane's graduate study at Stanford included field work in the Philippines and Indonesia, and culminated with her PhD in 1979. During her first 13 years at Lewis and Clark, in addition to teaching, which she loved, Jane chaired the Sociology Anthropology Department for 4 years, directed the Gender Studies program, which she had helped found, for 2 years, and headed the General Education Core Curriculum program for 2 years. Son Ethan, who is here today, was born just in time to participate with his mother in the 1981 NEH-sponsored workshop on women's studies, gender studies in the curriculum. Probably doesn't remember it, but he was there. And daughter Lucia, who couldn't be here today, she's such an accomplished musician, she was wanted elsewhere, Daughter Lucia was born just as Jane's new core curriculum baby was being approved by the CAS faculty in 1985. 5 years later, the family of 4 was in Indonesia, where Jane was a visiting Fulbright professor and ethno-historical researcher. Next came 26 years of administration, yet another platform for learning and teaching. As a good listener, a trained researcher, and a participant observer, Jane welcomed the challenges and the opportunities. She valued working directly with others to find common denominators and solutions, translating, building bridges of connection to overcome gulfs of understanding. And she cherished opportunities to know and work with a diverse cross-section of students, from student leaders to athletes to scientists, performers, and more. Now, I doubt that anyone has had as varied an administrative career at Lewis and Clark as Jane. Perhaps Wallace Lee from many, many years ago might make a run at it, but couldn't quite surpass what she did. 3 years as Dean of Social Sciences, 5 years as Dean of the College, 18 years as Vice President and Provost. And folks, within those years as Vice President and Provost, she served twice as Interim Vice President for College Relations, twice as Interim Dean of the Graduate School, and 15 months as Interim President, the first woman to do so in the history of the college, helping pave the way for Robin Holmes Sullivan, our 26th president. Now, you might ask, how could any woman achieve all this, be married, have 2 children before the days of parental leave, and remain sane? Part of the answer rests with Jane's exceptional abilities and commitment. Yet another part is found in Effort Atkinson's love and support for Jane, his exceptional self-defined role with their children on the home front, and what Jane describes as his invaluable role as her sounding board. According to Jane, because of Effort's years of immersion in the culture of Palatine Hill and his thousands of hours logged at Lewis and Clark events, he has become as deeply invested in the college as she. How true that is. And thank you, Effort. In May of 2018, after an outstanding 40-year career as professor and administrator, Jane Atkinson retired from Lewis and Clark. But as Jane puts it, she was retiring into Lewis and Clark's lasting community of students, alumni, faculty, staff, and trustees. The same community that deeply appreciates and embraces Vim and Alice as they move forward in their lives. This is the Lewis and Clark community that Jane helped to build and continues to serve today. Most recently, she has enjoyed assisting students with Fulbright applications, and she will be serving on the Art Advocacy Council, part of the Strategic Enrollment Program. Jane's enthusiasm and dedication remind me of a phrase from one of Kim Stafford's poems, "Nest filled." Build your sturdy nest and fill it with the future. From one bird lover to another, dear Jane, well done. Congratulations.
Hard to recover from. Thank you, Jean. I know how much, not just I, but everyone within these walls and so many beyond value you as a beloved friend, a trusted mentor, and a role model. Always say, I want to be like Jean Ward when I grow up, truly. And my thanks to the Alumni Board for this recognition. I find it very meaningful that the Don Balmer Award is given in this annual ceremony, even though the recipient is not necessarily an alum. I like to imagine that this citation, like the law school's honorary alumni award, confers a lasting association between the recipients and the alumni body of this college. This award invokes the example Don Balmer set for all of us by his long and dedicated service. Some of you will remember a favorite quote of Don's. It is a small college, and yet there are those who love it. Tom Balmer, Don's son, clued me in as to the source of this quote. It was from Daniel Webster, in an argument he made in 1818 before the Supreme Court in a case involving Dartmouth College. Don, of course, appropriated it for his own use here. I am humbled to be included now in the list of recipients of the Don Balmer citation, faculty, students, alumni, trustees, whom I deeply admire and respect. A number of them are here now. Jean Ward is one. And I'd like the others to stand too, please. The Don Balmer Citation Award winners. Wonderful people, each and every one of you. And finally, it means a great deal to me to be on the program today with Chris, with Kathy, with Anna. Through their achievements, they exemplify the qualities that inspire the rest of us to support this college in whatever way we can. Little history. Robin talked about the remarkable changes being made, as we sit here in the college's facilities. Back in the mid-1990s, Lewis and Clark, as a number of you know, embarked on the Signature Project, a building project that involved new construction, renovation, and extensive redesign of the very landscape, recontouring and replanting. And that, of course, has been followed up to the present by years of additional construction and other projects. I've always enjoyed encountering alums after they have returned to campus to see what's been wrought. Back in the early aughts, a young woman came back to see me. She'd been away since the early 90s. And I took her on a tour of the new facilities, and she said, "It looks just like Lewis and Clark, only more so." I love this comment. For her, the changes represented not a departure from the college she knew, but rather a distillation, an intensification, a crystallizing of the very essence of this place that she held so dear. When I visited Lewis and Clark for my job interview 44 years ago, I too, of course, was struck by the beauty of the place. But I was also struck by the vibrant enthusiasm expressed by faculty and staff alike about the future of the college. This was a community, I felt, that welcomed the prospect of innovation and change. Indeed, during my first 11 years here, we had 3 general education programs, not to mention 3 presidents and 1 interim. That was a lot of change in 11 years. Change, I came to discover very soon, was not easy, even at a place that seemed to embrace it. Hopes for the future were paired with not a little dissatisfaction and impatience over the college's perceived shortcomings. There were different camps. Some sought radical change. Others feared an evisceration of institutional history and identity through an overweening desire to emulate other institutions. Was Lewis and Clark going to become the Harvard of the West, it was worried? Remember that? Despite these deep divisions, however, over institutional mission and direction, the college chugged on. Generations of students and faculty worked creatively in the pursuit of knowledge. Staff did their utmost to support them. Alumni and trustees have done the same through good times and bad. Not everything has gone according to anyone's plan, but it's indisputable that on all measures, the college has progressed. Now as then, there is deep affection for the school, combined with a strong, powerful desire to make things better. That's a great combination. What institution would want to rest on its laurels? And no, Lewis and Clark has not become the Harvard of the West, nor the Dartmouth for that matter. Rather than selling its soul, the college has retained and cultivated a distinctive identity, its very own. And in recent years, it has done a more than credible job of articulating the heart and the pulse of this community, the spirit and energy that animate it. And I have absolutely no doubt that this work is going to continue long into the future. Put another way, Lewis and Clark is just like the college I remember, only more so. A small college, and there are those who love it. Thank you.
Our final award today, the Distinguished Alumna Award, is given to an alumnus for superior performance in her career field and community. Anna Marjave, from the class of 1998, is this year's recipient. And to introduce Anna, join me in welcoming Dr. Kimberly Chang to the podium.
Aloha! Oh, you guys know it. All right, great. Well, good afternoon and welcome. I am honored and excited to introduce my friend and my colleague, Anna Marjave, for the 2022 Lewis and Clark Distinguished Alumna Award. Over the past 2 decades, Anna has dedicated herself to highly vulnerable populations, people, and communities affected by domestic violence, exploitation, and human trafficking. You can read in her bio in your program how she helped to create and lead a healthcare movement focusing on the people affected by generating resources, services, awareness, and influencing policy to center and meet the needs of survivors. When she graduated from Lewis and Clark, she quickly went to work at Futures Without Violence and immediately started racking up wins on the issue. For example, her work with the Indian Health Services and the Administration for Children and Families raised the issue of domestic violence and resulted in improving screening rates from 4% to 48% over the course of the project she directed. And she secured $12 million in annual congressional spending for this issue for the Indian Health Services. Second, she created and curated and developed the premier health conference on domestic violence. It's called the National Conference on Health and Domestic Violence. And for those of us in healthcare know that if you've ever seen, has anyone seen the musical Hamilton? Or watched the movie? Yeah, okay. So you know, for domestic violence issues, this was the room where it happened. Thank you. Thanks. I worked really hard on that one. It was an effective, action-oriented convening, moving the issue forward to get actual resources, support, and prevention for people and communities affected by violence. She successfully led a campaign to create the National Health Cares About Domestic Violence Day on the second Wednesday in October during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So this is a really cool one for me because my mom is always texting me little things like Happy National Hot Dog Day or Happy National Ice Cream Day. And today is actually National Beatles Day and National Goat Cheese Day. So for I like my audience here. And one year I actually sent my mom a text for Happy National Health Cares About Domestic Violence Day. And my mom was actually thrilled to send this out to all of her friends because it actually was something that was really, really meaningful, right? So all of Anna's work laid the foundation for her to lead the development, secure funding, and serve as the inaugural director of Health Partners on Intimate Partner Violence and Exploitation. This is a national training and technical assistance center for health centers, federally qualified health centers across the country. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal because health centers nationwide serve the most marginalized and vulnerable people in every single state, territory, and District of Columbia. 30 million of them. Anna has the ability to positively impact all of them. So her 22 years of organizing, research, advocacy, training, technical assistance, and policy work effectively built this movement in healthcare. And we, speaking as a doctor, we and America are all the better for it. But I don't want to just focus on her accomplishments. I want to share with you the why she is a leader and the why of her work. Basically, the why is that this is in Anna's DNA. It's her core, a deep-seated humility that's grounded in compassion. Her commitment to the vulnerable, her dedication to civic engagement, her conviction to live by her profound values of justice and equity, this is what I want to share. She steps up in her neighborhood, going door to door to organize tree planting and sidewalk cleaning. She chooses to coach sports in underserved communities. And when I work with her on human trafficking projects, she's the first one to figure out how to get actual concrete resources to actually reach people on the ground who are harmed. She knows how to show me the money. She doesn't have to do that, but she goes the extra mile, the extra 1,000 miles, extra 1,000 miles every single time. Thank you. Finally, Anna could have done anything in her career and been successful. And the reason? Well, she puts in the time, she puts in the work, she has the critical thinking, and she has the heart and the soul. And I wanted to reflect back to you folks and Lewis and Clark's influence and why she deserves this alumni award. I did my research. I found out your colors were orange, so I did that. Orange and black. So I did my research. I went to your website, and it says, this is direct from your website, our students represent the next generation of global thinkers and leaders, unafraid to discard conventional thinking, civic complacency, and outmoded preconceptions. Yet they value what Lewis and Clark offers, an education built from the time-tested elements of careful study, original research, and spirited debates. This is the perfect description of who Anna is and what she does. Anna, I am so proud of you and grateful to work with you and call you a friend. Thank you for all the good you put into the world. So please, everyone, join me in congratulating and welcoming Anna Maryavi to the stage to receive her award.
This only happened today. Luckily, I'm traveling with a doctor, so. All right. Speech, thank you. Thank you, Kim. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lewis and Clark Board of Alumni, for this award. I'm honored to receive this recognition from you and from the college. Thank you also, Dr. Chang, for that introduction. And thank you, everyone, for joining me today, and especially my friends and family who are sitting over here. Thank you for being here. So I've dug through my boxes. When I learned about this award last August, it really sent me on a mission to reflect back on my years at Lewis and Clark in Portland. And here's what I found. I found everything. Discovered I'm a pack rat. Just kidding. And I found my poem from Synergy, the campus gender lit journal. My senior thesis on communicable diseases and individual rights. I only got through reading halfway into that. Research from my semester in Kenya and Tanzania about the tsetse fly. And entry badges for the US House of Representatives and the Senate during my semester in DC. Looking back, these experiences all influenced my interest in health, politics, and feminism, and it was those experiences from LC that came together when I took a job at Futures Without Violence shortly after graduating in 1999. I feel so humbled to receive this award today. It recognizes some of the successes we've had in shifting public awareness that domestic violence and human trafficking are health and healthcare issues, that sometimes the only safe place for survivors to access care and support is when meeting privately with their healthcare provider. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, especially in light of what we learned yesterday from the Supreme Court, especially around income inequality, civil rights, human rights. We must change structures that do more harm than good. Elsie gave me confidence to pursue a career in public health, grounded in the firsthand explorations of how government works, but it wasn't solely academics or the incredible opportunities to study abroad and study in DC. One of my biggest influences in terms of teamwork and perseverance was by playing sports here at LC. When I was a freshman at LC, I didn't think that I would join the softball team because I had only played 2 years in high school. Lewis and Clark coach Missy Smith was in her second year of coaching. She was rebuilding the program, and she only had 2 returning players. And her previous season record was 0 wins and 16 losses. This on top of a no-win season before that. But hardship brings opportunity, and they were actively recruiting, so I joined the team. We had just 10 rostered players, and for anyone who knows baseball or softball, you need 9 to play, which meant that we had a bench of 1. We had 2 pitchers, one who was a sophomore transfer from Gonzaga University, and she played Division I ball and was our best all-around player, and me. 2 years high school. So, we even had one player who had never played softball before, and here we were, coming up against high-level teams from Oregon, Washington, and California, and we lost a lot of games. This team of 10 persevered, and we had grit. So I also found something in my boxes as I was digging through that I hadn't seen in over 20 years. It was a little Oregonian newspaper clipping, the paper fraying and brown, and a little handwritten note on top, April 27th, 1995. The headline read, "Lewis and Clark ends softball losing streak." And went on to say, "It was a long, hard ride, but the Lewis and Clark softball team finally ended a 50-game losing streak Wednesday. The Pioneers rallied from an 8-0 deficit to beat Concordia College 9-8. The Pioneers had not won since April 1993, when they beat Western Oregon. The slide is believed to have been the longest in the nation for a college softball team." I was reminded of this small piece of NCAA history and the resilience of our team that year. We finished the season with 1 win and 23 losses, but the following season we had 20 players, we won more games with each passing year. But it's that season and that team that I remember, and the strong women who coached me, and our determination to get out there every day, to learn, to work as a team, to have fun, and to keep striving. These are a few of the values I try to impart and how I try to lead with the girls whom I now coach. And that's the same spirit and lessons that I brought with me in my work around domestic violence and human trafficking. So thank you so much, Elsie. Your influence has been an integral part of moving these issues forward as well. I want to thank my mom, who couldn't make it today, but I want to thank her for her steadfast guidance and love. I want to thank my brother Noah, who's here, for teaching me how to play baseball and always being there for me. I want to thank my friends who are here, Julia and Luke, who came up from Berkeley, and Karina and Cassidy and their girls. And I want to thank my dear friends Audrey and Nick and their girls, Ellie and Alice, who are also here. They live across the street from me. Their door is always open. And I'm deeply grateful for their friendship. And I want to thank my boss. It helps to have a really good boss, Lisa James, who's here as well. A lot of the work that Kim talked about, she's been my partner across these years in all of these health efforts, and I couldn't have done it without her, so thank you, Lisa. Finally, I'm grateful to LC Financial Aid, big time. I would not have been able to attend this school without the grants, loans, work study, being an RA for a year, all of those incentives, financial incentives that Lewis and Clark offered me. And finally, I'm grateful to share this beautiful Portland day with my fellow awardees, Jane Atkinson, and Chris Bailey, who couldn't be here, and Kathy Kirkland, who couldn't be here. And also thank Chris for bringing us together and emceeing. So thank you so much.
It's okay. Good. That's great. Great. Well, each of today's honorees just represents that which is so special about our community. You know, in the liberal arts education that we've had, you know, the independent thinking, creative ways of engaging in the world. You know, just think about what we've heard, and a desire for excellence in what they choose to do and with their lives. They all have it in common, but also remarkable journeys and are ambassadors for what a liberal arts education truly means. So I hope you'll join me in one last round of applause for Kathy, Jane, Chris, and Anna. So as you've listened to these remarkable stories and to the communities that surround these remarkable people, I hope and suspect that some people in your lives have popped into your heads that are equally worthy. And particularly if they're Lewis and Clark alums, we'd like to know about them because it's from you that we find out about these amazing people. So please, there's on the website, you can go to the alumni page and you can nominate someone or just talk to us. But truly, this is how we find out, is from you about what's going on in our larger community and the very special people in it. So thank you. Thanks for being with us today, and I hope to see you at another event over the course of the weekend. And right now, I invite you to join us at the Connection Reception, which is happening right outside of the Manor House. You can learn more about what's going on campus, how you can engage in various ways in alum and with the school, and just stay connected in ways that work for you. Importantly, I gather that there are also popsicles and ice cream available. So, yeah, there's plenty of good reasons. And then, and finally, on your way out, there's actually chocolates for each of you, just sitting on the back bench. So please take those with. And finally, thank you again, and have a terrific weekend.